Hi, my name is Mattea Hoskins, and my presentation is on the statistics of slot machines. So, some terminology to be aware of throughout the presentation. First, the return to player, or the RTP. This is the best indicator of the winning percentage of slot machines, and it can vary greatly over time and depends on the type of game you're playing. And it's also determined by the developer as a result of running simulated spins and tracking results over a ton, thousands, if not millions, of trials before it's sent out to the public. And then volatility, this indicates how often and how big the payouts are. So, for example, low levels generally provide frequent payouts of a small size relative to the bet you place. Um, it's easier to understand once we go through the presentation, but yeah, that's a good example of it. And then house edge, this is basically how much the house makes off of your bet. So it's the difference between the RTP and 100%. And again, you'll understand it more once we go through the presentation. So the layout of slot machines, basically there's a number of symbols on a spinning wheel or on spinning wheels that are randomly shuffled so that when the wheels stop spinning, a combination of the symbols appear. So these symbols, certain combinations can lead to different outcomes. So this could mean a big payout, a small payout, or nothing at all. And it really just depends on, again, the combination, whether you get the same symbol or just a couple of symbols that go together, or just like nothing at all. So in slot machines, there are thousands of possible outcomes, if not millions, and that's because there's so many different layouts for all the different games. So it just really depends on the game you're playing. So in most slot machines, the return to player, the RTP, is between 80 to 95%. So this means like if you bet $100 on a game with a 94% RTP, you will win back $94. But of course, this is uh, determined based on the long term results, since the RTP is determined over millions of trials and spins, like what we just talked about. Um, so in this example, the house edge would be 6%, meaning the house would basically make back the $6 of the $100 you bet. So it's recommended to go for games with a high RTP and a low volatility. Games with high volatility usually result in bigger wins, but they are few and far between. So they don't happen as often as a game with low volatility. And then on the right of the slide, these are just some examples of specific slot machines and their RTP and their volatility. So yeah, you can see like the first one, Quest to the West, 97% basically of an RTP with medium volatility. This means like you will make up, or it would take longer for you to get a higher payout, but not as long as it would for like a high volatility. And then yeah, you can see the rest. Most of them are medium to low volatility, except for the second one. The second one, 97%, meaning you'll get back that $97 with high volatility. It would just take forever. So some statistics for slot machines. In 2022, commercial casino gaming revenue came out to be $60.46 billion. This is a 14% increase from the year before. Of course, the year before was 2021, and we were still kind of recovering from COVID. So 2022 was like the year to get back out and go do stuff. So of course, people chose to go to casinos, and this explains the surge in money made, money spent. This is an excerpt from one of the websites I used. So slot machines are some of the worst, ranging from 1 in 5,000 to 1 in about 34 million chance of winning the top prize when using the maximum coin play. So this is a really good example of volatility. Yeah, basically a high volatility is on this 1 in about 34 million chance, meaning at some point you could get the top prize, but like it's not likely at all. And then another statistic, in 2023, the commercial casino gaming revenue increased from the year before by 10% to 66.5 billion, and 49.38 billion came from the slots and table games. So this is like table, like blackjack, stuff like that, and then of course slot machines. And this is just a 3.3 increase from 2022. And then sports betting accounted for 10.92 billion, and this was crazy because it was a 44.5% increase from the year before. So when you play any game at a casino, the odds are ultimately stacked against you winning. So while the house edge varies each time for each game, or every time for each game, it ultimately ensures that the casino will never lose money to any of the gamblers. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how much you gamble, you could make a ton of money back, but ultimately the house will always make money. And this is why you see places in or casinos in like Las Vegas where it's like $1 billion casino, and yet they pay out every single day. So a good example of this is in a table game like blackjack. The house edge could only be 0.5%, but they make up for that deficit in money earned back in other slot machines that have a house edge at 35%. So playing more does not increase your chances of winning. The odds are ultimately stacked against you and in favor of the casino. Doesn't matter how much you win the casino, you're still not going to make back all the money that you bet, and the casino is always making money. So the more you play, the more the math works against you, and so the odds and the chances of you walking out with less money than you came in with increases. So these are just examples of table games and slot machines that have the house edge. Yeah, you can see where at table games, you can see where the house edge is a little lower, but once you get to the slot machines, they start to increase. And again, this is a good example of how the house makes its money back. And then these are my sources. Thank you for listening.